So now that you know how to graph basic linear functions, we're going to talk about how to graph linear inequalities in two variables. So you guys have been graphing linear inequalities on a number line, and you were using open and closed circles, and then you were using the test number of 100 in order to figure out which direction to go. Since this is going to be in two variables, it is going to be a little bit different, but it is almost exactly like what you were doing before with just basic linear equations. The two differences is that the line could be dotted or solid. And then the second part is that there will be a shaded region. So the solid or dotted is information that you already know. It's determined the same way that when we were graphing on a number line, we determined that the circle was open or closed. If it had the solid line underneath, we said that it was closed, so that means it's going to be a solid line here, again, or a closed circle. If it doesn't have the equal to bar underneath, this is what we're going to do, a dotted line, or this was when we had that open circle on the number line. So everything else is going to be the same as when we were doing linear inequalities. So let's look at number one. We're still going to start with the B and the M. So remember B, this is where we begin, and that's always going to be your y-axis or the y-intercept. So since this is mx plus b, this is 3. Then my slope, this is where we move. This is your rise over run. And in this case, it is positive 2. But the extra pieces is that we're going to decide dotted or solid, and then above or below. So if we look at the sign, this is a less than symbol. So both of these are going to be determined by the less than symbol. We have equal to, so since we have the solid line underneath, we would go ahead and say that we're going to make a solid line. And then since it's a less than symbol, that means we need to shade below. And I'll talk about how to determine what is below in a second. So let's go ahead and graph. We're going to begin at 3 on the y-axis. So we go up 1, 2, 3, and we put a point. From here, we're going to follow our slope, which is just 2. So remember, if it's a whole number, we put 2 over 1. So this tells me I'm going up 2 units. And then since this is positive, I'm going right 1 unit. So I would go up 1, 2 over 1. Up 1, 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. And then to get more points, I would go the opposite, so down to left 1. And you're going to want to put as many points as you can on the graph. So now, typically, I would tell you to get out your ID or your ruler and draw the line. If it's solid, it is pretty easy to do. If it's dotted, then you're going to want to change it up a little bit. So I don't have a ruler with me, but it is a solid line. So I'm going to do it as straight as possible with my non-ruler. So there's my solid line. But now I'm supposed to shade below. Well, how do I determine what's below? What I want you to think of is that this is like a slide on a playground. And if you were going to be the person to slide down the slide, where would you have to sit? Well, you would have to sit up here, okay, in order to slide down. Wherever this person is, this is going to be considered above the slide, because up here would be the sky. underneath here, this would be where the ground is, so that would be below. So this would be considered the above portion of the graph. This would be considered the below portion of the graph. I'm supposed to shade below. So I would suggest a highlighter just because it's the easiest way to shade. And so you could actually kind of go down your line since it's solid and then kind of come across for the rest of your graph. And then all of this is what you would color in. Now, if it's a small graph like the ones on your worksheet, you could actually make it pretty good colored in. But for this purpose, I'm just going to kind of shade it lightly. So now the very last question that it asks us says, which of the following would be a solution to this equation? Well, in order to be a solution, the point has to be in the shaded area. So again, it would have to be in the shaded area, or in this case, on the line. If it was a dotted line, then it wouldn't be on the line, it would only be in the shaded region. So is 0, 0 a solution? Well, let's look. Is 0, 0 in the shaded area or on the line? Yes. So this would be a solution. What about negative 1, 0? Well, if I look, here is negative 1, 0. So that would also be in the shaded region. So yes, this would be a solution. And then it says check 2, 8. So here's 1, 2, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is outside the shaded area and it's not on the line, so this would not be a solution. So 2 points that would be a solution would be 0, 0, and negative 1, 0. Good. So now let's look at number 2. So for number 2, again, the first thing we want to do is pick out our B value. So B is going to be whatever number's out here, so it's positive 2. Again, this is where we begin, and it will always be on the y-axis. Then our M is what's with X. Well, in front of X is 2/3. So even though they put it on the top, it's still part of this. So we would say 2/3. And again, this is where we're going to move, and we're going to follow our rise over run. Then we look at our symbol. Here it is. It does not have the equal to, so we need to draw a dotted line this time. And it is a greater than, so we're going to shade above. So we begin at 2, so I'm going to go to 2 on the y-axis and put a point. My slope is 2/3, so that means my rise. So I'm going up 2, and then we always go right, so right 3. So from here, up 2, right 1, 2, 3, put a point. Up 2, right 1, 2, 3, put a point. Up 2, 1, 2, 3, put a point. And then I would do the opposite, so down and left, down and left, down and left. Now, this time it's supposed to be a dotted line. So if you put a ruler up there, which I don't have, you're going to kind of want to just draw some spaces in between. Okay, make sure you're leaving gaps so that it does not look like a solid line. It needs to be a dashed line. And now we're supposed to shade above. So again, if you were the kid on the slide, you would have to sit right here to go down the slide. So this would be considered above. This would be considered below. This time we're supposed to shade above. So and then we would shade above. So now we're supposed to pick points that are in the solution. Well, this time, that needs to be in the shaded region. And we can pick any points that we want. We cannot pick points that are on the line. Not points on line. Because it's a dotted line, that means the line does not count as part of the solution. So, I could just pick any points. So let's say I pick this one. So that would be 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to pick 2, 6. And then let's say I pick this one. So negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So negative 7, 1. And then I want you to come up with one more point. So you give me one more point that would be a solution. Good. So flip over onto the back. And I will do number 4, and then I'll let you guys do number 3 on your own. So number 4, we need to pick out our B. So our B is 4. Our M is whatever's with X. So this is negative 2. The line, again, we're looking at this symbol. So it does not have the equal to. So we're going to go dotted. And it's a less than. So we're going to shade below. So I'm going to start at 4 on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then my slope is negative 2, so that means I'm going down 2, and then if there's nothing on the bottom, it's always a 1. So I'm going down 2, and then right 1. So down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. Keep following that pattern until you get all the points that'll fit, and then we can do the opposite, so up 2, left 1. And then remember, it's supposed to be dotted. So on these smaller graphs, you're going to want to just sort of put like one little hash mark in between each one of these so that you can tell it's dotted and not solid. Then once we've done that, we're supposed to shade below. Well, if you notice now, our slide goes the other direction. So I would actually have to sit here to go down the slide. So that means this is considered above, because this is where the sky would be. This would be considered below. So if I was going to shade below, I would have to shade on this side of my line. And then I want you to pick 3 points that are the solution. Remember, it's a dotted line, so these are going to be only in the shaded region. It cannot include the line because the line is dotted. Good. All right, so you guys go back and work number 3, and then I'll ask you guys some questions about that. Let's look down at 5 and 6. These are your special cases. So if you are looking at these two, it becomes very difficult to pick out your B and your M. Your B is usually where you begin, but that's if the equation is in y equals form. So here I can pick out my B, it's at -5. But then there's not an x anywhere in the equation, so I don't have a slope. So this is NA. Now we still look at the symbol. It is going to be dotted because it doesn't have the equal to, and it's greater than, so we're going to shade above. But what you need to remember is that this is a special case. If it is y a symbol and a number, this is automatically a horizontal line that goes through -5. So if I put a dot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down here at -5, it only has a y, so it should only cross the y-axis. So I would draw a dotted line, so be real careful with that, like this. Now, although it would be a really boring slide, you would still sit on top of the slide here. So this is still going to be considered above. This is still going to be considered below. So to do our shading above, we would actually still be shading up here where the sky would be. And then again, it's a dotted line, so I'm going to let you name any 3 points that would be considered in the solution. Remember, it's only in the shaded region. It cannot include the line. Last one, this is x equals. You need to notice that. That is your telltale sign. If I don't have both variables, it's going to be a straight line. This one is x is less than or equal to, so that means it's only going to cross the x-axis, which means that it is a vertical line. So I don't have a y-intercept because it's not actually going to cross the y-axis, so this is none. And in my equation, I don't have a slope. And in fact, really, I guess I know the slope of a horizontal line, so I should have put over here that the slope was 0, okay? And then since this is vertical, I know my slope is undefined. But again, it's not in the equation, so I can't pick it out from the equation, but I can know from prior knowledge that if it's a horizontal line, it's 0, and if it's a vertical line, it's undefined. Then it is less than or equal to, so it is going to be solid. Less than means we're going to shade below. So we need to draw a vertical line through x equals 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We would put our dot at 6. This time it is a solid line, so I could go ahead and draw a solid line down through 6. But this is where it gets complicated, because you really can't put the guy on the slide either way, because he's literally just going to fall straight down. So what you need to remember is that bigger numbers are to the right, so this is going to be considered your above, and over here would be considered below. So if we were supposed to shade below this line, we would shade this direction. And I'm going to let you name the 3 points that are in the solution. Again, this time you can include the line because it's solid. Okay. So make sure that you've named all the points in the shaded regions. Make sure that you went back and that you answered all of number 3, and you are good to go.